Introduction to Programming. Systems Architecture. Most tutorials leave out deploying your applications into the real world, so it is difficult to get a good picture. And giving a solid explanation is difficult. Every architecture is different. It is sure to involve a lot of concepts. Some of them may be very noisy. But there is another way, explaining architecture by a somewhat subtle analogy to other programs. A lot of the good programs exist because the ideas that they are based on are very simple. And if you just take a moment to think about them, you can kind of infer what they are doing under the hood. What I present here is a simple to grasp architecture of a self-expanding business empire for a busy teenager that has more important things to do. You will need a safe way to handle information from many sources. So use Couchbase or a similar CouchDB provider so that you don't have to host your own CouchDB. Know that every one of your users, upon a sign-up, gets a tiny little database that only they can view. There are no security issues here. Users just own their own data. When a user logs in, a web page with a PouchDB will synchronize with their little CouchDB. When they make changes to their data in the browser, those changes are automatically sent to their little database on Couchbase. This requires custom programming, but it is good practice to learn how to hire programmers to code your ideas. Now things are gonna get a little bit crazy here. Couch and Pouch have a concept of design documents. These were originally invented to make apps. An app would sit on top of a design document. Hire a programmer and tell them to create a simple code editor that will help you create and edit design documents. Tell them that you want it to look like Windows Explorer, a file manager, where you can browse properties inside objects as if they were files. Here, you just make a view folder in your design document and create a tiny JavaScript file with just like 3 lines of code. You see, we are using the concept of a file manager, files and folders, because it's a good idea and everyone knows how it works. It won't take you long to figure out how to create design document views. There are many examples everywhere and tutorial videos and such. Now, let's get application specific. Get a programmer to write a program that will load posts from your users' favorite news sites, there's only like 5 big ones, into their tiny database in your Couchbase. Have your design documents filter out collections of news articles based on source. The way you create multiple collections of things in PouchDB, or tables as they would be known in other databases, is just by adding a news source field and entering Twitter or whatever in there. And then design documents will filter for news source Twitter, and that will create a group. Think of a group as a collection of similar information, or in this case, information that comes from the same source. What this creates is rows of news articles where every row is a unique article. And now every article has fields such as source, author, date, title, and text. So if you go from row 1 to row 2, it's always the same fields except that information changes. This gets us to the next application layer. This one is inspired by FileMaker or Access. We create a row navigator. Basically, this is like the simplest thing in the world. Since we have rows, all we need to move between them is previous, next, and search. And then below that, you will need a program that will help your end users to drag and drop row fields, or we should call them document properties, onto the application face beneath the navigator. If you have a field that just has a link to an image, you will need to connect it to an image UI element. So you will need these components in your program that people can use and reuse and request and customize. More on that later. So now you just gave your users the ability to create their own versions of popular news sites. I use news articles as an example here. There are many applications you can create. Drag and drop layout editors to further expand your applications. Color theme designers where your users can sell little themes on your network. Web services builder. Web services are very simple on the server, sometimes less than 100 lines of code. You can create an application that helps the users customize a noise machine. You can create a song beat counter with a database of songs. A popular song customizer where you just kind of preload a popular song and let the user hit randomize button to make it sound unique. You can create things like Bootstrap shadow generators for the user interface, Bootstrap component generators. If you make enough components, then you can create a product that you can sell for $50. These would be like little code editors that deal with multiple languages. It's complicated, but it does represent money. You can even make tiny things like button customizers, a database of buttons, not just regular buttons, but ones that are styled to look like candy or knobs that you'd find in a car on an old radio. So it's like really beautiful buttons that people can sell for maybe $5 in bundles of 100. They could probably sell on Creative Market. As a bonus, also create an Automator clone on top of the FileMaker clone. So it's an improvement to the core application. Here, your users will be able to create actions such as sending news articles from one site to another, or getting articles from one news site into your database. This is not a difficult problem. This action would be called a scraper. And with a lot of users on your network, they could all collaborate on creating reliable scrapers. And this applies to everything. Wikipedia, for example, or data inside Wikipedia, names, dates, whatever. Scrapers are an interesting thing. Finally, what you end up here with is a custom drag and drop application builder. Users sign up for $2 or $4 a month. They get their own little database and access to a forum where programmers, for a small price, will be willing to code custom components. And the fancy thing in here is that all of these components, once created, become available to all the users in your network. This means that your little empire will keep expanding, and it won't really require too much attention. The users will be expanding it inside out. Kind of a neat idea for a teenager, I think.